Greetings, my beautiful storyteller. I'm Will Kelly, and you are watching Tools for the Storyteller, where script analysis meets self-analysis. Welcome. So last week we talked about the core four archetypes. We based those upon the theories of the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung and put our own little twist on it. So the self became the inner self, the persona slash character, and then of course we have the shadow and the anima, animus. If you haven't already watched that video, I suggest you watch that before proceeding with this one. Each video each week is going to build on the one before, so it's going to help you immensely if you've watched the previous video before moving ahead with the next one. In this video, I want to talk a little bit more about the persona and the inner self, and then a strong emphasis on the shadow, because it is in creating the shadow world of your character that you are able to create a great deal of internal conflict for the character that you're playing that can still make sense to the story that you're telling, but may not be found on the written page. So when I look at a script, when I open the script for the first time, what I'm looking at is what I consider to be the persona of the story. And when I look at the character, I'm looking at the way they present themselves in the world. So I'm looking at their givens, what their objective is, what they might do for a living, all of those scriptural givens. I want to learn that as quickly as I can and get off book as quickly as I can so that I can dig deeper, so that I can dig beneath the surface and discover who that character is in terms of their inner self and things like their shadow and the things that they might be hiding beneath the personality that they are presenting to the world. Between the personality that we present to the world and our inner self lie the secrets that we keep to ourselves, which become part of our shadow. And so it's in discovering what's in that character's shadow that helps us to create those kind of internal conflicts that still need to make sense to the script and the story that's being told, but gives you a grounding and an anchor in which you can bring to the script things that aren't necessarily on the written page. So then I match the internal conflict for that person with whatever circumstances they are facing on the scriptural level. So now we have external conflict in the action, and on the scriptural level, an internal conflict for that character as a human being. So it helps you to create the kind of performances, hopefully, that make people want to watch you.
He is a loathsome, offensive brute, yet I can't look away.
So just as when you meet someone for the first time, you get to know each other on the personality level and you go through the kind of more routine questions such as what do you do for a living? Are you married, not married? All of those kinds of more basic kind of inquiry questions. Once you get to know someone over a period of time, you get to know them at a deeper level and you get to know more about their nuances and their contradictions as a human being, if you like. Or when you meet someone on social media, on Facebook or Instagram, what's being presented is usually their best possible selves. And if you eventually meet them in person and get to know them well enough and long enough, you discover that they're a bit more complicated than the way they are presenting themselves at the surface level. The character that you meet on a script is exactly the same. And of course, you want to know the struggles and you want to know the story well, and you want to give service to that story, but you also want to bring a nuance and a level of humanity to the character that you're playing that is true to human beings in general. And the truth is that we're much more complicated than the way we simply present ourselves in our everyday life. We're much more complicated than the things that we want and the things that we desire. There are the whys, why we desire the things that we desire, why we're going after the things that we're going after, why we hold the attitudes that we have, why we have the kind of beliefs. So investigating the character that we meet on the scriptural level in terms of their inner self and their shadow and their anima, animus, discovering how they feel about the feminine energy or how they feel about the masculine energy, how the character feels about members of the opposite sex. Of course, there'll be hints of that in the script and how, of course, that character treats members of the opposite sex, and then we can come up with backstories as to why that might be the case. And then we can just start to discover different aspects of their internal makeup, their internal psyche, the kind of archetypal forces that are driving them in their behavior. So remember, the shadow houses all of the things within a person that is animated but being suppressed because it has been deemed unsafe or judged in some kind of negative way as being unacceptable and isn't allowed to come to the surface. And the personality starts to act a bit like a protector and a filter. Part of the personality's job when things are being suppressed in our shadow is to make sure those things don't leak out of us. And of course, sometimes they do in moments of stress or anxiety. Often a lot of these things that we suppress and hold down, or they come out in projection. We project them onto other people and become very judgmental. Another sign that what we are actually getting anxious about or upset about is really an aspect of ourselves that we have denied and suppressed. Sometimes the things in our shadow are things that do need to be guarded, and we need to protect people in our environment from them leaking out. And sometimes they are beautiful qualities that we have been conditioned to believe are flaws. Anything that's in your shadow needs attending to, but not everything needs to come out. Some things in a person's shadow need to be dealt with and acknowledged and humbly accepted as a flaw in one's character and healed and integrated in some form or fashion. Some things that are in our shadow may require some form of therapy, of which this isn't. This is just an attempt to explore the human condition and understand it, so that we can understand our own much better and play characters as unreservedly as we possibly can without judgment.